Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the True Life Podcast. I hope everybody out there is having a great day. Hope the birds are singing. I hope you hit all the green lights. I hope the person that you're in love with loves you back. I hope everybody had a great 4th of July. I want to talk to you today about the world of symbology, symbols. It's so interesting to me, and I hope it is to you too. I'm going to try to make it fun for you. And I don't see how you can't think it's interesting. Think about symbols as language. Everywhere you go, you see these symbols around us. Today, it's a flag, it's the Golden Arches, it is the symbol of the Starbucks Earth Mother, it is Penguin audiobooks. There's symbols for everything. If you can see the symbol, I'm wearing the new True Life Podcast t shirt. You might want to pick one up. But the idea of symbols has been around for a long time. It stems all the way back from the beginning of man, probably. You can find them in the Bible. You can find them in any sort of historical text, the royal families, countries, flags. The symbols are all around us. You might be thinking to yourself, yeah, that's pretty generic, George. What is up with these symbols? Well, I made a couple slides. I'm going to show you guys here what we got going on. We're going to look through a few of them. So let's see what you think. Okay. So right here, you can see some religious symbols that some people are aware of and some people may not be aware of. I don't happen to know all the meanings of all of them. I've done a little bit of reading about different symbols. And so I will walk you through a little bit. And what the symbols mean to me may mean something different to you. What I'm going to try to show you in this podcast is the evolution of our symbolic nature. I hope you like it. And since this is both on YouTube and live for the podcast, I will be doing my best to explain it so that people who are listening can get a mental picture. Think about a cross. What does that mean to you? To a lot of people, that might mean the crucifixion of Christ. It might mean something holy. It might mean redemption. It might mean salvation. But it's a powerful symbol. You see people wearing one on their neck. Sometimes they get tattooed on them. What about the Star of David? What does that mean to you? How about the Yin and Yang symbol, or in Hawaii, it looks like the town and country symbol. It's like almost like two fish, opposite colors with an equally opposite dot. And it represents balance. It represents nature. It represents yourself in the other, constantly going round and round and round. What about the swastika? No one likes that symbol, right? Unless you're in India. Then it means something totally different. It's amazing how different symbols can have different connotations. How about the menorah? That one means something different to everybody. So this particular set of slides right here, for those who are looking, are different religious symbolic attributes, and they have different meanings to them. Let's check out the next slide right here. For those of you who are just listening, just imagine in your mind some of the religious symbols that you've seen from time to time. Here's another one. I want you guys who are just listening to think about the sign of the Mason sign. It's the protractor and the ruler and the I in the middle and then the G. What does that symbol mean to you? In today's world, it seems to represent the occult. It seems to represent some unknowable mystery to some people. But it's a symbol that most people have seen and are familiar with. Here's another one. This is a type of swastika that people find in, I think, in India, where it means something totally different than the Germans used. It means something completely different. So don't tear me up for using it. I'm just showing the slide because it's in there, and I think everybody knows what this symbol means. All right. Now we have all these. Look at these symbols. What do you see here? Coca-Cola. It's got the bottle with the cursive writing. You see the sign for Pepsi that looks a lot like the yin and yang sign, kind of just, manipulated a little bit. You see the McDonald's sign down there. You think of KFC. Interesting, right? I want you to pay attention to how the Pepsi signal, the Pepsi sign, looks a lot like the yin and the yang sign, right? Opposite colors, has the little divide in the middle. It's almost like they're piggybacking, like they're hijacking this highly knowable, expressible symbol that has been around for generations. Almost like they hijack that so that when you look at it, you kind of put your emotions towards Pepsi. It's like they're trying to steal the emotion of that symbol and take it for their own. Here's some more corporate logos that we see. Yahoo, Adidas, BMW, Burger King, the famous Nike swoosh, the UPS shield, the iconic Shell gas station, Pepsi, Puma, Mobil, IBM, FedEx. Look at these symbols. How many of these symbols do you know? If I just say them out loud, can you close your eyes and see these symbols? Do you know what the Adidas symbol looks like if you just close your eyes? If you weren't looking at this, could you picture it? Everybody can picture the Nike swoosh, right? The Starbucks logo, the IBM logo. Can you tell me what the Google, like if I just asked you, close your eyes and tell me what the Google symbol looks like. Could you tell me? You'd be like, yeah, it's like a rainbow color with a capital G. And then it's just got different color letters on there. What about Coca-Cola? Yeah, George, it's all red and it's in cursive. I understand all those. Now I want you to think about like why? Why do you know all these symbols? If you could close your eyes and I can ask you what these symbols look like, how do you know that? You know that because you've been bombarded with them since you were a child. They've been plastered over every surface that the company can put them on. And whether you stare at them, whether you buy their product, whether you see them on a commercial, whether you try not to notice them, you can't not notice them. It's like they're being jammed into your head. They're being forced into your mind so that you know what they are. I want you to think about that as like pornography almost. Like, why are all these symbols everywhere, on every billboard, on every building? I heard an interesting talk yesterday about a gentleman who lived in South Korea. And in South Korea, one way they've solved the public housing problem is that they've allowed giant corporations to buy up large buildings and then house people. So you would live, instead of living at, I don't know, Trump Tower, which I guess that's kind of similar. Instead of living at, pick your fancy name, the elite condo complex or whatever the building is called, imagine it being the McDonald's towers or the Walmart walk-ups, the Yahoo Tower number 5, whatever it's called. Imagine giant housing tracks. Imagine whole neighborhoods being named after corporations. What if you lived at like the NFL Plaza or the Burger King Woodland Apartments? Like in this article, what I was hearing is that you're beginning to see these kind of things happen where giant corporations actually own the entire housing track or the entire building platform. And they're coming up with strategic ways to help people have more affordable housing. Try to wrap your mind around this. Imagine a giant corporation. Imagine you're a young kid and you're like, man, how the hell am I going to buy a $500,000 house? I barely have a job. I just got a college. I got student debt. How are you going to do it? Well, this corporation comes to you and says, look,
we'll go in half with you. So you put down your, your 10 grand, you're going to pay 250 and we'll pay 250. And when you start doing better, then you can pay us back. It sounds like a pretty good deal until you start realizing that you have to run all your, if you want to change the carpet, you want to put in different windows, you you want to do anything, then you have to go by the corporation and ask them if it's possible. You got to pay all the maintenance fees. You have to do all the things that you would do if you own the entire house, and the corporation reserves the right to say yay or nay. They also reserve the right to pull your contract if you don't abide by certain types of rules. It's almost like they're the homeowners association. I'm not sure quite what I think about it. I haven't really read it in depth, but it's kind of interesting. But I'm kind of birdwalking. Let's get back to the symbols. So here we see all these iconic symbols out today that everybody knows. Let's go to the next slide over here. See, here we have the Starbucks slide. Everybody knows what the Starbucks symbol looks like. It's a representation of the Earth Mother giving you your caffeine goodness. I kind of like this symbol. It seems happy to me. It kind of represents nature's drug, right? Everybody needs a little bit of that. You know what? Starbucks should sell weed and mushrooms. Like, they'd probably crush it. And that logo just fits that. Okay, here's one that I put up to see what you guys think about. Obviously, we got the peacock over here. What is that? Does that represent NBC? What does that represent to you? In today's world, it seems like the media represents propaganda. It seems to me that which you see on television is not a fair representation of reality. It's this illusion of reality that's broadcast on these incredible frequencies to get everybody jacked up to it. And on the right, you see the double-headed eagle, which has been used as everything from a liberating symbol to a symbol of war. And I put them close together like that because I think that they both have that potential. I think that the media, while to me this current symbol of NBC is a symbol of propaganda, it could be a symbol of liberation. I think that there is a real possibility that if a country wanted to come together and be united, that they would use the media to do it. And an example of that is after 9/11, all you saw was pro-American everything. People waving flags. You saw different races hugging and coming together and talking about how we need to destroy and go into the Middle East and pay back people for killing our people. And the propaganda machine, the media, NBC, CNN, Fox, pick your poison, it doesn't matter. That at that time, the media, the propaganda machine was used to bring our country together. And that's why I say that symbols can be anything. Right now, I think that this symbol of NBC or media is pure propaganda. And when you look at it, I hope that you see a symbol of propaganda. But no, that propaganda machine could be used to bring people together. And that's why we put up the double eagles on the right. That same symbol on the right has been used to bring people together and send people to war. When you look at these symbols, you probably don't have too much relevant understanding of the double eagles, but you probably have a lot of understanding about that peacock over there. It probably represents a lot, depending on when you were born. It may represent, the Cosby Show, or not that that's the greatest example. However, it may represent a favorite TV show of yours and watching it with your family. It may represent family time, or it may represent being alone while your parents were fighting. I don't know. But that symbol probably resonates with you and everybody in a slightly different way. And it's important to understand how the different symbols make you feel. Okay, here we go a little bit further back into symbols. Look at all these different crowns. I think so many of us, myself included, are so illiterate when it comes to the symbolic nature that we're surrounded by. It's sad to think that we all know the corporate logos. We all know the ones we saw earlier, the Starbucks, the Googles, the Yahoos, the IBMs, the McDonald's. Like, you can close your eyes and see those symbols. You know what they mean. But what about these crowns? How many among us know what the 3-prong crown versus the 5-prong crown mean? How many of us know what the iron cross versus the flower? How many of us know what these different symbols mean? You're probably thinking, why does it matter, George? Well, it matters because a lot of our history is written in symbolic nature. A lot of our history is written in the symbols of the past. And so many of us are illiterate, myself included. I don't thoroughly understand most of them. So let's go to this next one here and you can tell me what you think. Okay, now we're moving forward a little bit in time. What does this symbol mean? Like, it's pretty in depth, right? You see the eagle, you see the lion, the coat of arms, different families on there. What do you think that that's uniting? What do you think that the dead sheep on there means? Are you the sheep that's caught? Is this a royal crown? Is this a royal crest? Let's keep moving. Okay, what do you see here? You see symbols of leadership. Do you see symbols of power? Or do you see symbols of theft? Do you see the symbol of people being imprisoned? I see so much riches and so much power that was stolen from him. Who here thinks that either one of these people have the right to rule? Do you think people have a divine right to rule? How do you think that the queen became queen? How far are we today in the United States of America from being ruled the same way that British subjects were ruled? I read an interesting book a while back by Thomas Piketty. And in that book, he talked about all kinds of different capital. He talked about human capital, private capital, public capital. And he went all the way back into the Middle Ages. And he says, according to his research and his book was a monster. It was like 1,000 pages. And he says that capital, money, throughout history is separated into 2 forms: those who have it and those who don't. And if you go back in history, you see a somewhat of a slave class or serf class, and then a wealthy aristocrat class. And what we've had here for the last, I don't know, 100 or 150 years has been but a blip on the radar. He makes the claim that the middle class is something that pops up every now and then, but it never lasts. So I bring up this picture, this symbol of servitude, for people to understand not only that the people who claim to lead us don't really deserve it, but to emphasize the nature of capital. And these are this is the symbolic nature of it. Look how much gold and Jesus Christ, look how much money is there. Like, where did they get that from? That came from the sweat and brow of every one of their subjects. The same way the queen takes money from all her serfs and slaves, so does the American government take money for taxes from people like me and you. How can it be possible for our government, and not just our elected officials? I'm talking about the real government. I'm talking about the multinational corporations, the banks, the insurance companies. These are the true power behind people like Biden or Trump. Biden and Trump are frontmen, and they're the same men. They're exactly the same, only different. And if you get caught up in this idea that, I'm Joe Biden or I'm Donald Trump, you're missing the point. there's a whole team of people pulling levers behind there. And it starts in the world of finance. It starts with the banks. It starts with the insurance companies. It starts with the multinational corporations. I think it was John Dewey who said, government is the shadow cast upon the people by business. And if you look at this picture, you see this obscene amount of wealth that we thought was in the past. But that's soon to be, that is the bankers right there. If I took the pictures off the Queen and King here, and I put Bezos and Musk and Oprah up there, these are the new oligarchs. Like, these people run the world. They have more money than other countries. Some individuals are making more money than entire nation states. They have their own private armies. This is a symbol of what may be coming our way. Okay, here's an interesting symbol. Here we have the American flag with gold fringe. This is the one you would see in a federal building. If you ever go to court, excuse me for a second. If you ever find yourself in a court of law or a federal building, you'll see a flag like this. This flag means that you're under maritime law, I believe, under maritime law. And so it begs the question, if you are a citizen of the state, why would you be subject to these rules? Now, I haven't read all the literature on this, so don't wreck me if I'm wrong here, but I think that this is what the sovereign citizens get into. I think that if you do some searching, you can find flag with gold fringe. I think you'll see that it means maritime law. And if you are in a court of law, I think, and if you're way smarter than me and you've done your reading, I think that there's a way to not declare yourself a citizen of maritime law. But it's interesting to think about these symbols that most people don't know about. The gold fringe on the flag means maritime law. How many of us knew that? I didn't know that until recently. How many other flags do we not know about? How many other laws and symbols do we not know about? What does it mean when the president comes out and he speaks and that flag is behind him versus the flag without the gold fringe? If he is speaking as a military leader, he's speaking as the federal president, then he really has no power over the citizens of the state. It's interesting to think about. Let me show you the other flag so you can see the difference. So here you see the American flag without the gold trim. You see the United States Marine Corps, and then you see the flag with the gold trim. So there's different symbolic meanings behind symbols themselves. So I just kind of wanted to talk today about these different symbols and what they mean to you, and how so many of us today are not aware of the true meaning and the true power of different symbols. I think there's something to be said about how we experience reality with the symbols that we have. You know, I think that the symbols that we have today, whether you know it or not, they're influencing the way you see the world. They're influencing your decisions. How many kids love McDonald's Happy Meals? I know my kid does, and I love McDonald's Happy Meals. They're awesome. How many of our memories were made there? I remember I used to go to McDonald's and sit in the airplane. You guys ever have the airplane at your McDonald's? You could sit in the front. You know, these symbols have been around with us for so long. And it's interesting how much power they have over us. When you have a cheeseburger tied to the memory of your father or your mother and they've passed away, all of a sudden McDonald's becomes a whole different place. It becomes more than a company. It becomes more than a cheeseburger. It becomes a memory. You know, and while I cherish memories of my family like that, I despise the fact that corporations are fundamentally trying to tie themselves, to wrap their tentacles around your most private and precious ideas. And I think that there's something we can do about it. You know, I think I think we have an obligation to ourselves to be aware of the different symbols. I think we have an obligation to ourselves to be aware of that which is trying to invade us. And I think a lot of these symbols are. I think a lot of these symbols are not only invading our minds, but our children's minds. And I want you guys to be aware of them. How do symbols influence your life? How do they influence them for good? Do they influence them for bad? What kind of symbols, what kind of symbol would you be if you were a symbol? That's kind of an interesting art. Well, that's what I got for today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a great day. I hope you enjoy talking about symbols and symbology, and I hope you see yourself getting better every day. All right. Aloha.